name is Christine Newman, and today I'm going to tell you about why everyone should take Latin in high school. Many students at my school often ask me the question, why are you taking Latin? Why wouldn't you take something useful like Spanish? But even though Latin may be a dead language, it is far from being dead in the classroom. Taking Latin has proven to help students outside of Latin and in advancing in college and medical field as well. In this speech, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how taking Latin can help you both academically and outside of school. It is common knowledge that Latin is the father of all Romance languages, such as French or Italian, and it's a lot easier to pick up these languages once a student has a Latin background. Similarly, most English roots come from Latin. Many students today suffer from a lack of a good vocabulary as compared to those who have taken Latin because they haven't been exposed to a large variety of words. This can help students excel in their English classes and on their SAT. Last year, my friends and I all took the SAT and we compared scores from one another, those who had taken Latin and those hadn't. And I noticed that those of us who had taken Latin did score well on our verbal scores, much better than theirs were. I saw English words on the SAT that I had never seen before in my entire life. But I was able to make at least good educated guesses on them based on what Latin roots I knew and which ones looked similar to Latin words I had already known. So I was able to get a good score from that, from at least kind of maybe a guess. In addition to this, studying Roman poets and authors, which was also included in the Latin class, can help in AP Literature, which is the 12th grade English class. By senior year, students have read Cicero, Virgil, Catullus, and many other famous poets. Cicero was considered one of the greatest orators of all time, and students who take Latin are exposed to his methods of effective persuasive speaking. Through Catullus and Virgil, students become more comfortable with poetry and how there is a unique word order and meter. That's how poetry is. And that's basically the main focus in AP Literature. All we do is poetry. English poets are kind of difficult to understand, especially Shakespeare. But once you've been exposed to the Latin poets, it's so much easier to understand how the English ones are because you've already been exposed to where they got their ideas from. So therefore, having Latin can help you excel in English, which is kind of ironic, but it's true. In addition to this, Latin can help the student excel in science and the medical field, not just the liberal arts. In anatomy, a lot of words that are taken from Latin for English. For example, the word pectus means chest, and that's where we get the word for our pectoral muscles. Many biological terms are also derived from Latin. So at my school, in AP Biology, there's a lot of students who are taking Latin in there, and those of us who are in Latin and in AP Biology, we do a lot better on the term quizzes. In addition to this, ancient Romans practiced experimental surgery in their time. Romans were able to figure out, to a certain extent of course, how the body functioned and where all the organs were located and things like that. Without these Roman scientists, modern scientists would not know, or we would not have as much of a knowledge of the progression of all of this. The Haruspex, which is a Roman sacrificial priest, would cut up human beings for sacrifices. I know this sounds very morbid, but this is how we know, like based on their recordings, this is one of the first times that we knew where the organs are located in the body. I've talked a little bit how Latin can help a student excel in high school, and now I'm going to tell you a little bit how it can help beyond that. I've already mentioned how SAT helps, but in addition to that, taking 4 years of Latin looks fantastic to colleges. It shows that the student is cultured, dedicated, and willing to learn how things of the past can help affect and influence the future. There are also a lot of things that you can do from Latin that help you win scholarships. Like you can be in the National Latin Honor Society, which is what I am in, and there are many tests that you can take, like the state pentathlon or the National Latin exam. These are all tests that I've taken that anyone's eligible for just because they are in a Latin class, and it's a very easy way to get scholarships. Activities such as Latin Club, everyone has to have an office in Latin Club or some kind of part. So being in those volunteer activities can really help you get a scholarship as well. I mentioned earlier how Latin is the father of all Romance languages. So if you have a good Latin background, it is so easy to take on a new language, it's very good to know a language that you can use in the world. So I experienced this myself when we were in Italy last summer. I was able to read, not a lot, but a good amount of the street signs to help me get my way around. So I was never lost. I always knew what I could do. In conclusion, Latin can benefit a student in 3 different areas. liberal arts, science, and beyond. Latin can help a student expand their vocabulary, which benefits their English grade, their SAT score, and anatomy terms. The culture of the Romans informed us of human anatomy and physiology. Latin aids a student in scholarship opportunities and learning a new language. Therefore, to conclude my speech, I encourage you to enroll yourself or a student in Latin and tell other parents and students how taking Latin can really help benefit you, not just in school, but also later in life. Thank you.